right. Good morning, everyone. I know they were having some audio. Mike, are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Here. And there's two mics. Are you the same mic or is there two different mics?
No, not the same mic.
Oh, cool. I feel outnumbered. So welcome everybody. This is Agent Power Huddle. Every Friday we cover scripting. And my name is Ed Laine. I've been in the business for 38 years. You can see by my background, I'm in Seattle. And I just have always felt like if you could be in a situation and know exactly what to say and pull a string like those talking dolls used to do, and say exactly the right words to get the outcome you wanted, that would make you more effective as a real estate broker. And that's what I have been striving towards my whole career. And I've got a whole load of scripts and dialogues that I love sharing. So today we're going to talk about how to talk to people during the holidays. It's early November. A lot of people have opinions about is this a good time to buy or not, or a good time to sell or not? And there's certain ways that you want to talk to people. And before I share my screen, let me just kind of give you the prevailing sort of undercurrent. It's not up to you to decide whether it's a good time or not, right? Because we're going to focus on sellers today, and it's their circumstance that dictates whether they need to sell or not. So you don't really want to say yes or no to that question. You want to understand their circumstance first, right? So we always try and draw out of the consumer, well, it depends on your circumstance. What is the situation? Do you need to sell before the end of the year? Could you wait until after New Year's? And then once they answer, I'm going to be reassuring. I'm going to give them words that bolster their confidence and give them hope. So we're going to go through some of those words today, and hopefully you'll get a lot out of it. Let me get my slide deck ready. And I will share my screen. I always have two monitors, so I forget to unplug. And now my computer is confused. Hold on. Gian, you're going to have to edit all that out. That was boring and slow. All right. So we're going to walk through some seller scenarios, and then we're going to talk about how maybe some things that you say that are effective for you. So seller scenario number one, isn't this a bad time of year anyway? Right? Have any of you ever had a seller say that to you? I know I have every year, right? So I actually start invoking these scripts in October, because that's the point where you either better hurry up or you should plan to wait. And it depends on the homeowner's circumstance, right? But when somebody says that, you want to understand their financial situation and don't guess. You want to explain the pros and cons of waiting versus going now. And you need to convey to them that you're an expert in either scenario. What that means is, no matter what they say in answer to your question, if they say, I need to go now, no problem. I'm great at selling homes in the fourth quarter. Let me explain my results, right? So here's how it's going to sound. Seller says, I've heard this is a bad time of year to sell. Is that true? There are better and worse times of year. Do you need to sell before the end of the year, or could you wait? So do you see how I haven't really answered their question directly, but I've answered their question with a question? That's because I'm trying to draw out of them their financial circumstance. And I mean, let's be honest. If this is a lead they only just met you. So they're not going to want to tell you that they're hurting or desperate or hemorrhaging money or whatever, right? But you want to draw it out of them. So there's good and bad times of the year. Do you need to sell before the end of the year, or could you wait? Well, I'd prefer to sell sooner rather than later. Now I know. They didn't have to say they're hurting, hemorrhaging, or in distress, but I know that they're motivated, right? That's not a problem. Did you know December is actually my third highest month of the year for transaction volume? So let's go. Let that sink in. Have a pregnant pause. Let them process that, because that's going to be shocking to them. Now, is it your third best month of the year for transaction volume? And what I'm talking about is units. I sell more houses in December than I sell 9 other months of the year. It's not my best, but it's in the top quartile, right? The top 25%. That's encouraging to that seller. Analyze yours. It doesn't need to be the third, right? You could do the math. Figure out, how do you do in December? And what you're going to find is it's surprisingly higher in the order than you would anticipate, because everyone thinks of December as the time off. But deals tend to start to come together. I put 3 deals in escrow in the last week. 2 of them have December close dates. That's what happens, right? Every year. So analyze your numbers, understand what you need to fill in this blank with. December's actually my blank highest month of the year. They're assuming it's 12th or 11th, right? But it won't. So do the math. The other side of the coin is, I've heard it's a bad time of year to sell. Is that true? I answered with the same way. There are better and worse times of year. Do you need to sell before the end of the year, or could you wait? I can wait if you think it's smarter. That's the prospect who's not in distress, not motivated. I'll give you a good example. I had one last year. They actually, it's really pretty funny. The conversation with me started with, we've talked to other brokers and we know we're being stupid by not putting it on the market sooner, but we don't care. 2 of our daughters are getting married in September, so we don't want to list until October. And we had this conversation in August. So could we have moved faster? Sure. And would it have been prudent to do so? Absolutely. But they got that advice from multiple brokers, right? So they ran into me, who knows what to say better than those other brokers, right? Those other brokers didn't get that listing because they pushed to list in August, and I didn't. I said, there's good and bad times of the year. Do you need to sell before the end of the year, or could you wait? I said those exact words, and guess what they said? We could wait. Our house is free and clear, so there's no financial burden on us to wait. Is that a smart thing to do? And then I went into this script. So this plays out dependent on the consumer's circumstance, right? So what do I say? Well, we're in an appreciating market, so your home should sell for more in January anyway. And we always target the 3rd Thursday in January, and here's why. Buyers wake up on New Year's Day, often hungover, and decide, this is going to be the year, honey. And they start looking on their phone, right? They're sitting on the couch hungover, they've got their phone in their hand, and they start scrolling through Zillow or Redfin or wherever, right? And so this is me saying this, right? If we come on in January, we beat out the spring rush, and we are on that leading edge of new inventory. while still having less competition. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? Right? The inventory rises in the spring. Buyers' attention turns to the market before spring every year. Now, you might ask, why are we targeting the third Thursday? Well, number one, if you've watched the training that I've done on our listing presentation, there's a dialogue I say that is, our system works best if launched on a Thursday. And you guys, hopefully you don't take listings live at random times of the week. You better have a strategy, because the consumer wants to hear that you have a strategy. Thursday, the strategy behind Thursday and why it is, in my opinion, the best day is buyer's agents start scheduling their showings for the weekend on Thursday and Friday, right? Thursday, because they know tenant occupied homes need 24 hours notice. So Thursday evening, they start working on this. I take my listings live Thursday afternoon, so they're near the top of the heap. I do the same thing for price reductions. Do a price reduction on a Thursday afternoon so that when people start scheduling their showings, they see your listing, right? Now, back to the holidays, the third Thursday gives you 2 or 3 weeks of that buyer on the couch looking and getting excited and scrolling. And then all of a sudden they see your listing and they want to go see it. So it gives them a little bit of time to build momentum and even get pre-approved, right? Now, I have to say this with an asterisk, because the third Thursday of 2026 is the 15th. That's too early. So I'm actually I already have 3 or 4 listings. I say 3 or 4 because I have 3 confirmed, one's deciding, that are going to go live on the 22nd, which is the 4th Thursday. So just keep in mind, you want to have about 3 weeks of runway, and then you want your listing to hit. And I use that visualization of leading edge of that wave of new inventory so that the consumer can visualize it, right? And they're like, that makes total sense, right? So I've made 2 points. Houses are still going up in value, so your home should be worth more in January than it is today. And there's going to be more buyers looking at it, but you still don't have that inundation of sellers because you're on the leading edge. Does that make sense to everybody? You're just trying to help them visualize, right? All right, let's do scenario number 2. But Ed, no one's looking at houses during the holidays. Everyone's too busy, right? That's a seller thinking no one's going to see their house. Things to highlight. You want to be able to demonstrate why holiday buyers are actually more serious. They're more qualified and more motivated, right? That's true of both sides of the equation. Both participants in the market in December are there because they really, really need to be, or really, really want to be, right? So they're motivated. So you want to paint the picture of the people that are house hunting between Thanksgiving and New Year's, and why that's exactly who we want walking through the door. Less traffic is a reality, but more serious traffic is also the reality. So you have a higher quality of buyer coming through. You need to be able to convey that to the seller who's deciding if they want to list right now, early November, right? Here's how it sounds. Look, I know you want the listing, but let's be realistic. No one is looking at houses during the holidays. Everyone is shopping, traveling, visiting family. Why should we waste our time? You're absolutely right that there are fewer buyers looking during the holidays, but let me flip that for you. Who do you think is house hunting when they could be at holiday parties? I don't know. People who have to? Exactly. Think about it. Someone who's touring homes the week of Thanksgiving isn't an actual casual browser, right? They're not a casual browser. They're either relocating for a job and need to move by year end, or they've been searching for 6 months and are determined to find their home before the new year. They're pre-approved, they're motivated, and they're not wasting your time. Compare that to the spring shopper who's just starting to look and wants to see 30 homes over 3 months. Who would you rather have walking through your door? Well, when you put it that way, plus, here's what I've seen happen. Holiday buyers often make faster decisions and stronger offers because they have a deadline. They know inventory is limited and they don't want to lose the right house. That sense of urgency works in your favor at the negotiating table. Does that make sense? My animation is off on that next slide. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? You can intensify the seller's perception of who's knocking at the door or who's scheduling showings. And that's actually appealing. Fewer showings, but more serious buyers. Which would you rather have? A boatload of shoppers or a few serious buyers? They will always go for the latter, right? Because it's disruptive. Accommodating showings sucks for a lot of people. Some people are okay with it, but most people are like, man, now I got to get out of my house again for an hour and I'm going to have strangers wandering through my house. They'd like to minimize that, right? All right, scenario number 3. My house is going to be a mess with all the holiday decorations and family visiting. You want to convey that holiday staging actually can be an emotional selling advantage. It's nostalgic for people, right? Help sellers balance festive atmosphere with show-ready appeal. Might they do a little bit less than normal? Yeah. You don't want it to look cluttered, but you want it to look Christmassy because that will help somebody visualize celebrating the holidays in your house, but with their family, right? You want to help them find that line between cozy and cluttered. Here's how it sounds. Seller says, there's no way we can show the house during the holidays. We've got decorations everywhere, family coming in and out, kids' toys all over. It's going to be chaotic. We should just wait until January when things calm down. I hear you, and I know the holidays can feel overwhelming. But what if I told you that the holiday atmosphere could actually help you sell your home faster? Sorry, my phone is blowing out. Really? How? Think about what buyers are looking for. They're not just buying a house, they're buying a home. And nothing says home like walking into a space that feels warm, inviting, and lived in during the holidays. Here's what I recommend. We keep your decorations tasteful and minimal. A beautiful wreath on the door, a simple garland, maybe a small tree with white lights. Nothing over the top, but enough to create that emotional connection. Right? You don't want the Griswold family Christmas. Seller says, but what about all the family chaos? That's actually easier to manage than you think. We schedule showings with advance notice. I'll give you at least 2 or 3 hours heads up so you can do a quick tidy. And honestly, buyers during the holidays expect homes to be lived in. A few toys in a basket or some cookies on the counter can actually make it feel more real and relatable. What we want to avoid is clutter and overly personal items. I'll walk through with you and we'll create a simple show-ready checklist that takes 15 minutes. Deal? If you think it'll work. I don't just think it. I've seen it work beautifully. Last year, I sold a home 3 days before Christmas because the buyers walked in, they smelled pine and cinnamon and told me this is it. This is where we want our family to wake up on Christmas morning. Emotion sells homes, and the holidays give us an advantage most sellers overlook. Now, scenario number 4, I'm speeding up a little bit because we're getting close to the bottom of the hour. Potential seller mentions financial goals or tax considerations, but seems uncertain. The key takeaway for this one is you're not a financial advisor. So don't get yourself in trouble by giving too much direct advice. You want to help them confidently navigate the conversation around year-end benefits without overstepping into tax advice. Tell them to talk to their accountant, right? You can still create urgency, though, around closing while staying in your lane professionally. Here's how it sounds. We've been thinking about selling, but we're not sure about the timing. Our accountant mentioned something about tax implications, and I'm wondering if we should wait until next year or sell before December 31st. What do you think? That's a great question, and I'm glad you're thinking about the financial side. Now, I'm not a tax advisor. You'll definitely want to confirm the specifics with your accountant. But what I can tell you is that a lot of my clients do choose to close before year end for tax planning reasons. Some want to lock in capital gains in this tax year. Others want to claim deductions or losses. It really depends on your specific situation. So should we try to close before the end of the year? Here's what I'd suggest. Let's get your home on the market now so we have options. If we list this week, we could realistically close by mid to late December if the right buyer comes along quickly. But if we wait until after Thanksgiving, we're cutting it really close and you lose negotiating power because you're rushed. This way you're in control. And if your accountant says closing this year benefits you, we can make it happen. And if not, we still captured the serious holiday buyers and just close in January. That makes sense. I just don't want to miss some kind of deadline. And that's exactly why timing matters. Let me connect you with a transaction coordinator who can outline the typical timeline, usually 30 to 45 days from offer to close. You talk to your accountant and then you'll know exactly what works best for your financial situation. Either way, being on the market now gives you the most flexibility and the best pool of buyers. Does that sound like a plan? Man, all of my animations are messed up. Sorry. Last scenario. After the holidays negotiation, the seller's ready to list but wants to delay until January 2nd or 3rd, missing the motivated December buyer pool. Quantify the cost of waiting those few extra weeks, help them see the fresh start mentality cuts both ways, and being first to market in late December positions them better than being one of many in the January flood. Okay, you've convinced me to sell, but I'd rather wait and list on January 2nd. We want to enjoy the holidays without worrying about showings, and then we'll hit the ground running with the New Year's buyers. I appreciate you wanting to enjoy the holidays. That's important, but let me share something with you that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars if we wait those few extra weeks. I'm listening. Right now, if we list this week, you're one of a handful of homes available during the holidays. Buyers looking right now are highly motivated. They're not window shopping, but here's what happens in January. Every seller who thought like you, they decided to list on January 2nd or 3rd, and we see a massive flood of new listings. Suddenly, instead of competing with 5 homes, you're competing with 40. But won't there be more buyers? Yes, but here's the problem. Those January buyers are just starting to look. They're in research mode. They're going to tour 20 homes, take their time, lowball offers. The serious buyers, they already bought in November and December. So you're dealing with more competition and less qualified buyers. Plus, those January listings don't sell in the first 30 days. By March, they're stale and buyers wonder what's wrong with them. I hadn't thought of it that way. Here's my suggestion. What if we list now, and I promise to keep showings to a minimum during the holidays? We can block out Christmas week entirely if you want. You might get 1 or 2 showings, but if one of those showings turns into a strong offer, you've just saved yourself months on the market and potentially made more money. And if we don't get an offer by January 1st, at least you've already built momentum and online visibility. You're not starting from scratch when everyone else floods the market. You're already ahead of them. When you put it that way, it seems silly to wait. It's not silly. It's just that most sellers don't have someone showing them both sides. I'd rather you make an informed decision than kick yourself in February when you're in a bidding war with 10 other listings. Are you ready to get started? All right. And I made it, right? With 3 minutes to spare. So quick note to all of you. This URL takes you to my custom GPT. So if you make a note of that, what would Ed say? You can go there and you can ask it any scenario, and it's all loaded with my scripts. So it'll respond the way I respond. So if you ever need help and it's not a Friday, you can jump into whatwouldEdSay.com. And I always try and leave the last couple minutes for scenarios that you guys have. So is there anyone that has a scenario that they'd like to know what would Ed say? And if not, we can wrap this up. All right. Well, I hope you guys found that helpful. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Have a great day, and I will be here next week.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.